Time is 6 p.m. Council of the City of Denison now convene into regular session. Tonight's invitation will be given by Pastor Todd Hill of Park Avenue Church of Christ.
Let's pray. Our Father, we open this meeting to pause and recognize you as Lord and Creator of us all. We thank you for your blessings, your concern for us. We especially give you thanks for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, and the forgiveness we have because of him. We pray that you would fill us with the same mercy and compassion that we have received from you. Father, thank you for this group of people who selflessly serve our city. We thank you for this place we call home. And we thank you for the supportive community we enjoy here in Denison, Texas. I pray your blessing upon this group. Father, keep them from deceit and pride and fill them with integrity and humility. Create within each of us a desire to do your will and encourage those things that will bring your kingdom, your reign into our lives, acting in full faith that anyone who hears the words of your Son and puts them into practice will build for themselves a firm foundation. Help us to seek the abundant life that comes from you and only from you. We pray that you would thwart and confuse those plans that lead us away from you, and that you will give your clear blessing to those things that will bring us and this community closer to you. Father, give us the wisdom to discern your will, the courage to act according to your will, and the boldness to unapologetically stand for what is right and what is holy. Again, we thank you for this place and this group of people. May we all live as servants of you, our Lord and our Creator. We offer this prayer through your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a distinct privilege tonight to have really two very outstanding city awards and then some proclamations for a couple of local athletes. At the conclusion of these awards and presentations, we'll go into a short 2-minute recess to allow the families to leave, and then the council will get back into our regular business for the evening. We'll start with the city awards. Mr. Hanna.
We have some 5 values we call our core values: service, teamwork, accountability, commitment, and integrity. And there are there's ample opportunity for employees to exhibit these on a regular basis, but every now and then we have employees that exhibit them in a very special way. I'd like to read a very brief paragraph that talks about 2 of our firefighters who exhibited these traits really above and beyond the call of duty. On August 24th, approximately 5:30, Kevin Arrington and his partner Jared Delaney were first on scene to a head-on collision at FM 406 and K Lane. They were on Medic 62. They found 2 vehicles, each with a victim inside. One of the vehicles was on fire. Kevin and Jared quickly and efficiently pulled the woman from the burning vehicle with nothing more than a small fire extinguisher. Kevin carried the passenger from the vehicle to safety, while Jared extinguished the flames. Kevin didn't worry about getting the victim's blood on himself or the dangers of the vehicle exploding while he extracted her. Kevin and Jared showed superior performance and worked together as a team to save the victim's life. And I talked to the mayor about this, and he agreed. We're going to bestow the Meritorious Service Award on Kevin and Jared both. This would be the 3rd and 4th time we've bestowed this award in the history of the city. So if you could please congratulate me and welcome Kevin and Jared and their family up at this time. This next award is also an accomplishment. And really the thing that separates it from the other two is the employee didn't save a life. But that really is the ultimate distinction. And this award is going to go to one of our police officers, Mr. Troy LaRoche. And I think that it really exhibits our core values. On September 9th at approximately 12 a.m., Officer LaRoche responded to a suspicious person call. He made contact with a female who had been forced from her residence. She had nowhere to stay. Officer LaRoche called the Salvation Army facility in Sherman. They advised they were full. He then made contact with the crisis center and was advised they do not accept new residents past 4 p.m. Officer LaRoche rented a room for one night at Motel 6, spending his own money to do it. He gave the female a safe place to sleep. He insisted that she keep her $10 so that she could get something to eat the next day. Officer LaRoche's actions went clearly above and beyond the call of duty. He's a credit to himself, the Denison Police Department, and the city of Denison in general. This type of behavior really exemplifies our core values, and it's the kind of behavior I hope all of our employees take it upon themselves to do. So Officer LaRoche, would you mind coming forward to be recognized?
Sunny, if you would.
You know, at this time, we would like to recognize two individuals for our summer track program. This year, we were gracious enough to present 2 awards from TAF, which is the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation, and they provided us with a male and a female athlete of the year. This was actually one of our biggest years in summer track as far as participants, and both this male and female exhibited great leadership, commitment, excelled on the field and off the field, so we would like to recognize them at this time. The first is Byron Light. Byron is our local TAF City of Denison Male Athlete of the Year. And our female athlete of the year is Miss Jaden Hunt. Jaden is also receiving the female Region 7 TAF Athlete of the Year, which she was selected from hundreds and hundreds of different athletes throughout Region 7. Region 7 is actually the biggest region in the state of Texas, so this is a pretty prestigious honor. At the top of that, Jaden has just been awarded the Female Texas State Athlete of the Year that she just found out this past week. So what a great honor for Jaden.
And then the city has a proclamation. I won't go through the details that Andrew already mentioned, but whereas from a pool of candidates, Jaden was selected as Athlete of the Year and in the state and selected as the 2013 Female Athlete of the Year for the state of Texas, and will be honored in the January 2014 Hall of Fame induction banquet in Waco. And whereas Byron and Jaden traveled to Corpus Christi to compete in the state track meet where they each finished in high rankings, I, Jared Johnson, Mayor of the City of Denison, do hereby recognize Byron and Jaden for their achievements in athletics that has enriched their life and our community. Watson. Hunter is being recognized tonight for not only representing our city well, but has been named to United States national team in baseball. He competed amongst, I guess, 288 15-year-olds in Cary, North Carolina, of which he was selected to the final 16 that will represent the United States of America in the upcoming summer games and as part of the U.S. National team. In order to be part of that 288 kids in North Carolina, there were tryouts throughout the country, of which those 288 kids were selected. So we too have a proclamation for Mr. Watson. Whereas Hunter is a student at B. McDaniel Middle School, whereas Hunter Watson has excelled in baseball, which has given him the opportunity to travel and compete throughout the United States. And whereas Hunter was named the most valuable player at the 2012 National Youth Baseball Championship, where his team, the Banditos, won the tournament. And whereas Hunter recently traveled to Cary, North Carolina to try out for the United States national team, and out of 288 players was chosen to represent the United States. Now therefore, Jared Johnson, I, Mayor of the City of Denison, do hereby recognize Hunter Watson for his achievement in baseball, his ability to represent the City of Denison, and represent the United States of America, do hereby proclaim October 7th, 2013 as Hunter Watson Day in the City of Denison. I now witness and hereunto set my hand and cause the great seal of the City of Denison to be affixed. And with this as well, it's on behalf of the entire council that we present you with the key to the city.
Wow.
A lot of good things happen in Denison, Texas, and it's great to see those three young athletes, and look forward to watching you guys and gal excel as you get into high school and move forward, and certainly to our three heroes that we get to call upon any day. You're a phone call away, and the community takes your work very seriously, and we thank you for your efforts very much. At this time, we'll just take about a minute or two recess to allow the family members to leave, if you'd like, at this time. Time is 6:13. Time is 6:15. Councilman will come out of recess and get back into the regular agenda. Agenda item number 3, the consent agenda. Are there any items the council wishes to remove from the consent agenda?
Mayor, can we pull 3C from the consent agenda and talk about it individually?
Yeah. Anything else? Take a motion to approve the consent agenda by removing number C.
Mayor, make that motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Begg, second Councilman Malvern, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 3C, the addition of the 2 police officers to local government code. Mr. Hamlin.
Mayor, I was just inquiring as far as, there was a lot of discussion when we had the new police officers put in as far as kind of the need for those and kind of the grading to know if that's going to be successful, adding those 2 officers. So I was just going to ask if we had some kind of basis we're going to use at the end of the period to determine if that was a successful addition or what we're using that to grade by. Because we originally talked about it as a traffic unit, but then that got, I think, broadened. So just curious as what we're going to use to determine if that's a success.
Council members, there are a number of performance criteria that you can use. I think that rather than giving you a canned response on here's some performance criteria we use. I'd rather work with the chief to develop some if that's the direction council wants to see us move. To answer, I think what may be another part of the question, authorization to add 2 officers to the force. Council retains the authority to remove 2 officers from the force through the budget process. From now till eternity, that's your prerogative. Staff is recommending that we do add these 2 officers for all the reasons we've previously discussed. If council's direction is to see some performance criteria that can be used to help measure accomplishments, we're happy to work on that. But I'm not prepared to tell you what they ought to be for the city of Denison. I think we need to look at some and create some that are modeled after the needs of our community versus taking standard patent answers that may not really tell us that much.
And certainly I appreciate that, those comments, Mr. Hannah. I guess where I'm coming from is when we originally started the process of adding the 2 officers, it was as a traffic unit, and that was going to be to reduce our, by writing citations, reduce the number of accidents and serious accidents and that sort of thing. And since we moved away from that as a criteria, I just think we need to have some basis to know what the citizens, what the citizens of Denison are receiving for those 2 new positions. So that'd be a request for me, is just see what that's going to look like for the citizens.
And I would concur, that's to be said with all of our positions, but these obviously are the 2 new ones that we're adding because there's a need, right? Presented to the council, and the council's responded to that need. At a minimum, in probably the monthly reports that we get, that probably would need to be a section of, the value that's added once these 2 individuals are brought on board. And then further discernment, I guess, is to follow up on your comment, Mr. Hannah, of how we're deriving the value from that.
Yeah, I guess, we will obviously dance whatever tune council wants us to dance to, but I don't want to create performance measures and just say, oh, here's some wonderful measures, look how well we meet them. Poorly done measures are meaningless, and if we're going to do it, I want to make it a meaningful exercise for council, for the community, and for staff. And so we may need some time to develop that information. I don't think we need a year, but probably 3 to 6 months is a reasonable time frame to develop those measures and get them implemented with reporting mechanisms to make sure we're tracking them effectively.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate that. I guess where I'm coming from is the dance we were dancing originally was traffic, and we had some measurable statistics to determine if that was going to be beneficial, and we broadened that away from traffic to just 2 officers. So we didn't really come back around to that specifically, so I think that's kind of where I'm headed.
Well, if that's the case, in the measures we have for patrol, the things you do see in your report, if you have 2 additional patrol officers, it stands to reason that calls for the time response for calls of service should go down, those sorts of things we can measure now. If council's wanting to see, a drop in the UCR or something along those lines, that's frankly a little more nuanced, and I don't know how much value that adds.
I think
that's what I'm sorry.
I think the issue is just there needs to be value created. That's why you're adding the positions,
right?
And that value is, hey, without those 2 additions, we wouldn't have been able to have this many boots on the ground for this event or for that, or we're able to increase drug enforcement, or we're able to respond more timely to Miss Smith's request that someone's speeding down their street every day. Whereas before, the chief said, they may be able to put someone on there for the next day, but simply didn't have enough boots on the ground. So I think the value can be measured by subjective measures at times as well, because of what you're able to accomplish there.
We can certainly have a number of output measures that may help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Hanley, second Councilmember Gott. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, public hearings, conditional use permit for car lot on North Tone. Ms. Brockett.
Mayor and Council, we're here tonight to receive a report and hold a public hearing
and consider an ordinance for conditional use permit for a used car lot in a commercial district for property on the Miller's First Edition, lots 9 through 13, block 15 at 200 North Tone. The applicant has located a used car lot at this location. The building has been vacant for some time. There are 2 other used car lots in the area. We would like to limit his use to 12 cars at that location. Planning and zoning reviewed this and recommended approval, and staff's recommending approval. We did notify 18 property owners. We had 3 approvals and 2 disapprovals.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Discussion from council.
They've already opened up,
Yes, they did, and they were cited as a violation and did apply for the zoning.
Motion?
If I may, Mayor, since this is a conditional use, council's having difficulty with it, they can put whatever conditions they might want onto that are reasonable and justified. And if there's thoughts on conditions that you want to consider, an option could be to table the item until we have a better understanding of what those conditions might be. You could remand it back to planning and zoning, they could create more conditions, or if you're aware of conditions you can place now, we could also do this exercise here.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Hanley, second Councilman Beck. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 4B, public hearing on the affordable housing program. Mr. Steve.
Mayor and council members, a few council meetings ago, we brought back to you our affordable housing program that we refer to as Councilman Malvin's affordable housing program. You wanted some guidelines and some a little more detail on that. You gave me a couple of weeks to put something together, and I'd like to present that to you tonight. As I had mentioned, back in 2006, Councilman Malvern, Tom Akins, and I made a trip to Fannie Mae in Dallas and started this whole process. Went into a little bit of detail that the last time. What we did, we had 42 lots available that first time around. Of those 42 lots, we have 15 houses on the ground now that weren't there before. There were 27 lots left that weren't used for the program. They retained ownership in the name of the city of Denison, and we're going to include those in the additional lots we got from the county. I went back to the county and negotiated the price down from $300 that they were asking, and the assessor collector and the county judge agreed to charge $200 for those lots. So the $200 is a hard cost they had in for advertising and for expenses they incurred. So they break even. We think, looking back now, part of the problem with the first program was that the builders showed interest, but they didn't have any commitment to the program. We just gave them the lots and said, build a house on it. It took us sometimes 2 years to get those lots back that they didn't develop. We finally recaptured all those lots, got the additional ones from the county. And this time, rather than have the builders come in, stand in line, draw a number for a lot, and continue doing that until the lots are gone, we'll give them the opportunity to submit a bid. We're going to have about 54 pieces of property that's going to equate to about 61 lots. And we'll give that list of those properties to the builders at the meeting. We'll let them look at them. We'll give them about 30 days to go through that list and determine how many of those lots they want to bid on and develop. There won't be any limits. They could bid on as many as they want, as many as they can develop. The same criteria is going to apply. They're going to have, once they make the commitment, submit the bids, pay for the lots, get the title transfer, they're going to have a specific period of time to pull permits to start construction of those houses and have that house complete in 270 days. So hopefully, they'll have a little more invested in the program this time, so that hopefully that development's going to go quicker than what we did the first time around. So what we're going to suggest is the minimum bid be $300 per lot, and that additional $100 is going to be our fixed costs that we have in that to transfer title and advertise and things like that. So get the $200 back from the county plus $100 that we're going to incur. So we'll break even with each lot that they submit a bid on. We anticipate a little more interest and get more than $300 and then bid on some of those lots. If that meets with the council's approval, we would like the permission to continue the program and to send a letter out to all the registered builders in Denison and invite them to the meeting, explain the program to them, distribute a list of lots to them, and give them an opportunity to look at those, submit a bid, turn it back in, and proceed to getting title transferred over to the contractor and construction started.
Good questions from council? Actually, I guess this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Discussion.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir.
How would it work if a builder or developer wanted to come in and say buy 10 lots versus 5 and say they were both offering $350 a lot? So is there a prioritization for quantity as well as pricing, or how is that? I know that was an issue for us in the past.
We can do it any way at all at this point. Typically, when we receive bids for rehabs, demolitions. If there's a tie bid, the city secretary conducts a coin flip. Both parties are present, flip the coin, whoever wins the bid. If we want to be a little more sophisticated than that, we could say we're going to weigh that if one bid is submitting bids on 5 lots, another one's submitting bids on 10 lots, then the quantity, higher quantity we have preference. So any way you all want to do it. I like that idea. I think that may clear it up a lot.
I know from our past discussions, some of the key developers were more interested in volume lots as opposed to single lots. So I'd like us to come up with some solution to accommodate volume purchases.
Absolutely. Brendan, good idea.
Will you make a motion with that in it?
Make a motion that not only to include pricing, but volume lots to be a priority for purchase of these said lots.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Raleigh, second from Councilman Gott. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
That's a much improved product, I think.
Thanks.
Agenda item 4C, public hearing on 744 West Ford, 701 West Munson, 321 West Bond, and 523 West Ford. Mr. Jack.
Mayor, council, we have 4 properties. I'll be official. We have 4 properties tonight that I want to bring to you for consideration for demolition. First is at 523 West Ford. This is a frontal view of this property. You can see that it's open. Windows are broken and people can get in through the windows as well on this property. This is a view of the inside of it that I was able to step just inside the door and get a picture of that. And then here's the back side of the building. This particular building, because it is an attractive nuisance for children and vagrants, and because of the deterioration of the building, we're recommending demolition. The second one's at 944 West Ford. This is a frontal view of this property. This particular house, it's a little difficult to see from this far away, but you can see on the left side that there's quite a bit of paint missing. There's some issues with minimum property standards, which really don't have anything to do with this, but that is something else that we were looking at. This is the side. You can see the steps are in bad shape, which does create a exiting problem. This is the exterior of the building. It is not a weatherproof material, so the building is not capable of shedding water, keeping water outside based on the material that's being used here. And then you can see the other material a little bit better here. Based on the condition of this building and the fact that it's not weather resistant and there's exiting problems with it, we're recommending demolition of this building. The third one is the 701 West Munson. The front of this building is, you can see a little bit better here. The windows are open. That window is open and broken. There is some work that has been done on the side, but it's been abandoned. And then here is the rear windows, they're open. And based on the fact that it is an attractive nuisance to children and vagrants, and it is a hazard with broken windows, we're recommending the demolition of this building. And the last one is at 321 West Bond. And once again, you can see from these pictures, the building is open. That window is open. I could see this through the window of the building. All of the pellets that are there are rodent droppings. There's a lot there. This window is open on the side, and then this is the rear of the building. And based on the fact that it is an attractive nuisance to children and vagrants, we do have issues with the building that has deteriorated in the back, and we're recommending demolition of this building as well.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to any of these properties? If we have Mr. Crew.
I would.
Yes, please come forward. If you could, please queue it back up to the 944 West Ford property. Name and address, please, for the record.
It's William Cruz, 944 West Ford.
Okay, and actually the address that you live at.
I live at 749 West Broad.
Thank you.
All right. I've been a citizen of Denison for 50 years. I've owned this property on Ford Street for 40 years. Kept the taxes up on it and making improvements. I've got a $6,000 roof on it. I've replaced 12 windows with aluminum windows and got solid core doors all through it, no broke glass. And I had a carpenter working on it. That's why the steps aren't on the back. He took them down before he could put the siding up there and put the steps back. There's $300 worth of siding sitting in the backyard. It's supposed to go up on that back side right there. And he got incarcerated and didn't get to it. Left me with material on the job. I've got a permit for that siding to be put up that I obtained. It's still in the window, but I'm disabled and I didn't do it. I hired him to do it, and that's what I got left with. And I've seen numerous letters and complied with every one of them. I addressed this with Mr. Tom Akins. He told me that that was a pretty good amount of letters, different things, but I've complied with all of them, like the vehicles and stuff around there, and got them moved. And Mr. Jackson, we had one meeting. He told me that I could apply for a permit to make these improvements under Article 8, Chapter 5, Article 8, which was rotten boards, paint. I've got 20 gallons of paint sitting there ready to be used. And at this time, I'd like to apply for that permit to get this property up to standards.
Okay.
I've lived there for 35 years, you know, and didn't have any problem. My taxes are current on it.
Mr. Crew, we appreciate your comments, and you know, the whole effort, as you saw from all these properties, is we're trying to clean up our community. A lot of these properties are vacant, such as this one. What we do in circumstances such as yours is we give you 10 days to pull a permit. It sounds like you may have already pulled that, but we want to make sure that you
I was
pull.
waiting for this hearing.
Okay. 10 days to pull the permit, 6 months to complete the work.
Right.
So.
That's what I understood.
Okay. And what I encourage you to do is before you spend any dime on anything is to make sure you visit with the chief building official, just to make sure that you know the full scope of the work.
I did get a copy of, Chapter 5, Article 8, to make sure that I do cover all those bases and,
Okay.
you know, get everything taken care of, to where when I come back in 6 months, if you allow me the opportunity to make these improvements. You know, I wouldn't put a $6,000 roof on this house, 4 years ago. I hadn't planned on fixing it on up, but
Understand?
that's what I'm doing here.
Do you understand, it's not just the appearance, it's also bringing it up to code, the electrical, the water piping and everything, the plumbing and everything?
It's up to code, as far as plumbing and all that goes. No.
Mr. Jackson, do you have any concerns?
No, sir, it's, Mr. Caruth is correct, we did talk about it, and as I told him that, we had to proceed on, we couldn't stop the process, and that he had the right to either do the work before we go to council or request an extension once he did come to council.
Okay. So you fully understand? I mean, again, we want you to be successful with that remodel. We don't want to tear down your property.
I think I understand, obtained several documents here on the city code and on the Constitution of Texas on property values and rights and this and that. I had to do a little research before I know where I stand, but
Well, if you have any further questions, city staff will be there to answer those
I
questions.
planned on getting with Mr. Jackson and letting him explain exactly what I need to do in case I don't understand. You know, but I would like, I kept the yard mowed, I was mowing it the other day, when they came and took him 2 pictures from the back side. They didn't get a picture of the siding, it's on the ground though, that's gonna go back up there. And the steps are in the backyard that exit the deal. Like I said, I got solid 4 doors in the front, locked up, I broke glass. We pretty well managed to keep people out there so far.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Wish you the best.
Is there anyone else here wishing to speak to any of these agenda items or any of these properties? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Discussion and motion with council.
Mayor, I have a question for Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, on like the 2 latter properties that we had tonight on Munson and Vaughn, I know with them not being secured, that's a huge issue because they create what's the term, the attractive nuisance, and I certainly understand it. On some of these, is there a possibility that we can sell them or foreclose and do something where someone else could, because like that one, I mean, there's a lot of work that's been already done on it. Are these salvageable in your mind that we can, if we contact the owner, that we can foreclose or have that option to try to sell the house as a whole as opposed to just the empty lot?
I think I'd prefer to have Julie Ford answer briefly on just what things we can foreclose and seize properties on. It's a limited number of things.
Yeah, no, if you don't follow the exact right process, someone could claim you've done a taking. So just to go and take the ownership, there's not really any authority for that. The city will be able to put a lien against the property for the expense of actually conducting the demolition if there's no appeal. And that's how you get the money back. But really, unless they go into tax foreclosure or there's some other public necessity for actually taking the property, but in that case, you have to pay fair market value. It's a whole different process.
So we can tear the house down, but we can't.
The owner would still owns the land.
Right. Okay.
One other thing that
Yes, sir.
you might want to know about too is that most of these that are open have been vandalized and stripped of all of the copper wiring, copper plumbing.
Right.
And to come back in and do that work does make it cost prohibitive
Gotcha.
on some of these old buildings.
Makes sense. Okay, thanks, Dale.
Dale, just one at 701 Munson. When you first appearance of that home, it looks like it could be salvaged, but then you look at it and it's got the vinyl siding over it. Is that hiding a significant amount of decay and
That I don't know. I do know that
structurally inside it's?
I know the inside of the house is a real mess. I believe no, that was another one. We typically don't go inside of the houses and take any inventories without having a search warrant unless the door is wide open. If the door is wide open, well then we have gone in to see what kind of damage has been done, but that one was, we'd had to crawl through a window. I'm not comfortable doing that.
So just on this one, for example, the pier beam and the roof structure, are they in decay, or are they, there has been a little work here done, but is that just a patch, or is that significant?
I really didn't go to that degree on this one. I know that we contacted the property owner. They didn't contact us back.
So there's no opposition currently?
No, they weren't concerned about the demolition order. They weren't concerned about this. We never heard from them. And usually whenever somebody is trying to fix a house up, they put a little bit of money into it, just like the last person that was here. They'll come in and talk with us about it. And as you know, our new policy is proceed on and fix it before it goes to council, or you'll have to make your case to the council and get approval. And so they did not make any of those cases in this one. And so that's where we're at here.
Motion, actually, anyone else here wishing to speak to these? There being none, public hearing is closed. Motion from council.
I'll make a motion to approve the demolitions less 944 West Ford.
Will you amend your motion to put the parameters?
Yes. That the owners of 944 West Ford have 10 days to pull permit and 6 months to complete the work as directed by Chief Building Official and the rest of the city staff.
Motion?
Second.
Have a motion, Councilman Hanley, second, Councilman Raleigh, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 5A. This is the first of several for the tours and the Schuler development. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mayor. You have before you tonight an ordinance that will conclude a process that started a long time ago from a tax incentive standpoint. And will also, the next item culminates in the annexation of the property that, again, started a long time ago. The first document that we're asking council to authorize the city manager to execute tonight is the final project plan and the financing plan for the reinvestment zone. The TERS board did review this on October 2nd. They are recommending that the council adopt and approve it. The other agreement is the reimbursement agreement. Again, we're asking that council authorize the city manager to execute this agreement. The TERS board likewise approved and recommended approval by council. The final agreement is the participation agreement with the county. We have an ordinance that accomplishes proper authorizations for all three of these documents. I'm happy to answer whatever questions council may have. We've gone over both of these documents relatively extensively, so I don't want to beat the horse, so to speak. If you have any specific questions, we're happy to answer them. Both the legal team for Mr. Schuler, as well as the city of Denison, and Larry Klein or Schrader and Klein, the financial analysis folks, are here to answer any questions you may have as well.
Questions for council?
Question?
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Councilman Raleigh, second from Councilman Malvern, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 5B, annexation of Preston Harbor in the city of Denison. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm actually going to ask Ms. Brockett to present this item if she would, please.
Okay, this is the adoption of an ordinance that we have for voluntary annexation for 3,196 acres plus 909, plus .922 acres of land. This is owned by Preston Harbor LP and Preston Harbor Home Place LP, and George Schuler is president of this property. This includes the 600 acres that the core land got to the city, and then we passed it to Schuler, and this will be this will be the last action of this ordinance. We have had 2 public hearings and 2 readings, and we're here tonight to consider the adoption of the ordinance.
Questions for council?
Mayor, I move that we accept the adoption of this ordinance for voluntary annexation.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Beck, second from Councilmember Gott. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. This concludes all actions related to the Schuler development.
That's correct.
The next step for the city and for the developer is to see dirt moving at some point in the future. I know Mr. Roder's here, Mr. Schuler's attorney. Did you bring a shovel?
I've got one if you want to borrow it.
Bob, it's been good to work with you. Look forward to working with you in the future. Those that don't know, he offices in McKinney, and I know you weren't able to find a seat at the beginning because of all the awards, but just please send the message back to McKinney High, to McKinney North, and to McKinney Boyd that our 3 athletes that were here today are coming. So, again, Bob, thank you for your work. It was fun getting to work with you on that. Agenda item 5C, Encore Energy Delivery System Authorization. Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Mayor. It's time to renew our franchise agreement with Encore. We started this process several months ago. Our charter requires multiple readings. We have now met that requirement, and staff is asking that you approve the franchise agreement as submitted. Todd Thompson with Encore is here if you have any questions to ask from him.
Questions from council? Motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Malvern, second from Councilman Beck. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 5D, appointment of the chairman of the Denison Development Alliance. Mr. Brady is current chairman, is eligible for reappointment should the council so choose.
Mr. Mayor, I move for reappointment of Robert Brady. Second.
Have a motion from Councilmember Gott, second from Councilwoman Begg. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The council will now convene into executive session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code to seek advice from the city attorney regarding 715 West Sears and discuss personnel matters. Actually, no, we've struck that from the DDA. And also to discuss economic development pursuant to Chapter 551.07 regarding TPJ properties. Time is 6:50.